I'd like to call this meeting to order. Tonight, we are in a different setting due to the coronavirus. I have Dr. Baldwin, Cindy McMahon, and Amy Churchill, joining via virtually with us. This meeting is being broadcast live on Facebook, and public viewing is provided on this site in the Maple Room. At this time, I'd ask for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, that's Donna. And could I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
You're opposed? You're delayed.
It was delayed, I think.
You're delayed. All right, at this time, there are no public comments tonight at this meeting, and I would ask for Dr. Baldwin's comments.
Glad to join everyone virtually. I'm very fortunate. I've got a tech expert and my fifth grade grandson that's in the next room with the door closed. So if I get in trouble, I've got immediate help. You know, I want to begin by expressing my gratitude and appreciation to the entire Buncombe County School family. Over the past 3 weeks, I've observed, or I've been told of, some very extraordinary efforts of dedicated service to our students and school communities from all categories of Buncombe County school employees. While unprecedented has become such an overused word, we are truly facing unprecedented times. And through it all, Buncombe County schools continue to provide, in my opinion, 3 essential functions and services. Beginning March 16th, the first day of closing our schools, breakfast and lunch meals were provided to students across the entire county. Thus far, since closing schools, child nutrition staff, supported by bus drivers and assistants, have prepared and delivered a total of 47,519 meals today. I'm going to repeat that one more time because I think it's just miraculous. Thus far, since we have been closed, child nutrition staff that have been supported by bus drivers and assistants have prepared and delivered 27,519 meals as of today. Many thanks to Lisa Payne, to David Roney, to Clark Wyatt for their exceptional leadership, and a special recognition to their staff on the front lines that are providing this essential service. On March 18th, the third day of closing our schools, a second essential function started up, and that was providing academic instruction virtually for all students K-12. Barry Pace, Robert Frisbee, and school-based staff across our entire district did a remarkable job of distributing laptops and hotspots. The efforts by our teachers and our media specialists to provide a quality virtual instruction have been outstanding. And I think we all realize that this is new to us. This was our first attempt. And I just applaud just the quality of the effort and the instruction that has been put in place. I continue to receive many comments from parents that are praising especially the creativity of so many of their child's teachers. I might also add that on March 18th, Shannon Boyd, who is our homeless education coordinator, and 35 assistants, custodians, and bus drivers prepared and delivered packs of food and hygiene items to our highest at-risk population. On a daily average, this Family Resource Center, which is housed in the Nesbitt Discovery Academy, serves 192 locations. Once again, these are tremendous heroes in the Buncombe County school system that are putting themselves on the front lines. I believe a third essential function has been represented in our effort to provide options for all employees, paid hourly and salary, to remain employed and whole. And I want to give you a statistic I heard today in a Chamber of Commerce and Land of Sky webinar with political officials and with business officials from Western North Carolina, because I thought this really underlined the magnitude of the crisis that we're facing. The governor's office is reporting 332,000 unemployment insurance claims that have been made in the past 13 days. That is 1,000 claims per hour. So again, from the standpoint of this essential service of keeping our employees whole, I think has been certainly something that I applaud quite a few people. I would not only praise our HR and finance departments, but the leadership of our principals and our central office directors as well for working individually with a lot of our staff to identify professional development or work at home options when needed. Before I turn it over to 4 of our district level leaders, I would note that next week, April 6th through the 10th, is spring break. Our virtual instruction will take a hiatus during that time and start back on Monday the 13th. Throughout spring break week, 15 of our school campuses, along with the Family Resource Center, will continue meal preparation and delivery. The staff working at these sites, choosing not to take their break at this time, certainly deserve all of our appreciation and gratitude. For these employees on break, next week, I trust that you get some well-deserved rest and safe quality time off. I'm convinced that this is a marathon, this is not a sprint. And there is certainly more challenges ahead of us over the next several weeks. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Hough, Mrs. Swanger, Mrs. Reed, and Ms. Fisher to update you and our stakeholders on several key areas that will be impacting our services and operations again over the next several weeks. Mr. Hough?
Good afternoon, Dr. Baldwin, Madam Chair, board members. It's good to see you again, even in our modified environment here. Safety first, always, right? I shared with you a video of Senator Chuck Edwards' visit on Tuesday. He spent the morning with us visiting West Buncombe and Emma Elementary, in which he talked with child nutritionists, bus drivers, and teacher assistants. He was very impressed with what he saw and thanked everyone for what they have done and continue to do. He visited with our Family Resource Center with Shannon Boyd and her team and spoke briefly. Of note in his comments were 2 things that he felt go well beyond meeting the basic food and essential needs. He said that the community interaction alone was so very important at a time that so many are isolated from venturing out. Likewise important is the example that they were setting of how people should come together during unprecedented times and how important it is for our young people to see that. So, great visit by Senator Edwards, and I felt that our employees enjoyed having him come out and see what they were doing. I've been working back and forth with the Buncombe County Emergency Operations Center for the last few weeks, and I will first say that they are very appreciative of how quickly we have responded to continuing the learning environment of our students virtually. Emergency management personnel have come up to me who have relatives in education in other areas of the state, and have said in their conversations that Buncombe County Schools was ahead of both in virtual instruction as well as meeting the needs of the students and communities through food service and other basic essentials. Likewise, I have watched with the same admiration our county government and emergency services as they too established themselves, formed partnerships, and identified needs. They identified methods of protection quickly and communicated to communities as well as the school system directly. Currently, with the Stay Home, Stay Safe declaration in place, the EOC is preparing for the next phase of wider COVID-19 spread in hopes that the higher level of order will not be necessary. Some of those plans include more capacity planning for medical community and quarantine sites. With that is the need for supplemental medical workers that have background that they could bring on board if needed. One area that we have identified where BCS can help is the production of personal protection equipment. With our 3D printer, we can make face shields for our medical community. These face shields have been vetted with the medical and emergency management community, and they have asked for 100, which are being made at this time. And I'm going to hold up. I don't know that the camera, for those that are online, can see it or not, but let me try that. Okay, I think that'll work. Online, if you cannot see that, I will make sure I forward you those pictures, or they will be available to you soon, and even the public as well. But basically, the headband structure, as I'm holding it here, is what is made on a 3D printer with a small piece at the bottom. And then with some other document protector type materials can makes the face shield itself. So the emergency management has asked for 100 of those, and we have already gotten requests because they've seen basically the prototype, that they're excited about it. And I was down there actually today, and one of the representatives, I think from one of the hospitals, said, we need 40. When can we get 40? And we told them we'd try to have those to them tomorrow. So at this time, pending any question, this concludes my comments.
Thank you. It's exciting, the things that we can do in our community and in our school system. Thank you, Mr. Hough.
Chair, can I ask a question maybe of Dr. Baldwin? We were in a meeting earlier today of the Irwin District, and it was several principals brought up that we've got 3D printers in a lot of schools that are not being used. This is all being done right now at Nesbitt. Is there some planning going on to perhaps do more with this? And is that potentially a place where we could use some folks that maybe are not employed or not employed at their full rate to kind of oversee and put those things together? Because as I understand it, there are several pieces that are produced and then one person is putting those together. If we've got 3D printers in schools that are not being used and the prototype works and it's meeting medical standards, it would seem to me that's an opportunity for us to expand that in some way. And I'm just curious if we're working on that.
Dr. Baldwin, I can answer that. Mr. Bryant, you're exactly right, and it's just a matter of going slow here with the first batch that we're doing in case we need to tweak or any modifications. We do know that we have those other assets, and once we've kind of got down into a rhythm, that's some of the discussion that we're having right now, and Taylor Baldwin, myself, are having those discussions along with Taylor Jones, who is the Emergency Management Director, that we have ability to expand out from there. It's just getting through these first couple of batches, make sure we got a solid product, and then hopefully open it up to some of those other capabilities that you've mentioned.
Thank you.
I might add too, I think that's a great idea, Mr. Bryan, and that's a good example of creative decisions to help employees. We can put assistants to work. Great idea.
Thank you. Ms. Swanger.
Madam Chair, I think Ms. Churchill, it looks like maybe she's muted, is trying to ask a question.
I guess I'm no longer muted. Sorry about that. I just had a quick comment. I just wanted to say that as a member of the medical community who will be more than likely wearing one of those, thank you so much. I never thought I could be any more prouder of you guys. And, well, you proved me wrong because you've just made me that much more prouder today. And I'm not going to cry, but I'm just so proud of everything that, y'all are doing and just I can't thank you enough, and thank you on behalf of all the people that I work with at the hospital.
Yes, Madam Chair and board members. Taylor Baldwin stayed up till 1 a.m. getting the prototype ready, and so now that that formula is done, those printers are going, and we'll have a communication with future schools that have those 3D printers, and we'll put them all to use. So we're very pleased that we can help. We have some other good news. If you recall, we made the decision to cancel out-of-state field trips, and we were met with some sadness and some disappointment, but certainly we as a school system and you as a board, we made the right decision. I have to say, on behalf of Buncombe County Schools, the work that Young's Transportation has done for us as a school system and our school families and our students to seek reimbursement from all of the vendors that they work with. These trips were to Chattanooga, New York, Gatlinburg, Raleigh, Old Salem, Atlanta, Pigeon Forge, Greenville, South Carolina, Washington, D.C., Dollywood, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, many, many different locations. In fact, Young's had 30 trips just for Buncombe County Schools planned for this spring. 15 of those schools used their services. $400,000 was collected. And to pay for all of these trips, families had saved. There were payments along the way. So lots of money had been given to Young's and given to the vendors. So yesterday, I was given 90% of those dollars back to give back to our families. Young's delivered the checks to us, and they have worked incredibly hard with all of these vendors. Many of these vendors are out of business or closed, but they have secured at least 90% of the funds that our students and families paid for these spring trips. And those checks are going to the school, and then the schools will write checks to the families. So I can't thank Young's enough. They have worked really, really hard with us to make sure that these dollars come back to our students and their families. So our hats off to our local partner. Tom Crouch and Susan and Hank are just, Buncombe County Schools is very special to them and our students and families, so we'll continue to thank them. Our State Board of Education met last Friday and gave some regulations on how we proceed with grading, with graduation, conducting teacher evaluations. So I wanted to give you just a heads up on some of those items. We are expected to continue virtual and remote learning, which we are so pleased at the progress our teachers are making. As Dr. Baldwin said, it's hard work. It's different work. We are social creatures by habit. We come to school every day, and that's where we feel our joy and do our purpose. Now we're teaching from home, and that's very, very different. But our teachers have such an incredible attitude. We also have to think about our teachers and make sure they're supported because they're going through this trauma and this crisis as well. So making sure we have employee assistance for any of our employees. But we're learning how to teach from home. We're learning how to manage the assignments. We were really assigning way too much. We've surveyed families. We're asking, is it right? Is it too much? What else can we do? So a lot of good dialogue is happening. We're expected to watch those teachers teach and give coaching and feedback, but we're not going to formally evaluate them. We think that they're doing an incredible job. Principals are being on some of the virtual classroom platforms. Principals are co-teaching so they can see, and they're very excited to share those plans with us. We're having virtual principal meetings weekly. We have a staff meeting 2 or 3 times a week with Dr. Baldwin and everyone. We're having some small group meetings with content staff. So we're doing a lot of connecting and conversation about what's working, what's not, what needs to be adjusted, because it is a learning curve. It is something new, and we certainly don't want to add to the stress, but it's important that we offer remote and virtual learning opportunities. Our students benefit from those, and they're trying and they're learning. And that's what the state expects. As we look to our seniors, that's the important first step. And I sent a guidance to families. and it says that the state board, the class of 2020, has essentially said that there's one moment in time. What was happening with our students on March 13th? And luckily, that was the end of our third 9 weeks, and grades were in place. So we're looking at where our students stood on March 13th. If students were passing that class, and these are only seniors, if seniors were passing, then that grade at the end of the year will be a pass. It's a pass COVID-19, and that will go in Power School. That will be the official transcript. No numerical grade. It will be a pass. If that student doesn't need that course for graduation, or if that student is not at the pass level, we're expected to remediate, and we are, and we have plans for each senior who is in that category so that we can move them to graduation. So at the end of the year, we'll have a pass or a withdrawal. And hopefully we won't have to withdraw anyone, that we can just continue their content, because school is expected to be continuing even though it's in a different location and it looks differently, whether it be online or paper pencil, worksheets. High school told me yesterday that a teacher emails a written assignment to the principal prints it, and the family comes and gets it, or they distribute it with the meals. So we're doing lots of different ways to reach students who may not be able to connect with a device. We have devices, but students may not have internet, so we've added a lot of hotspots. We need a few more. But there are some locations in our county that hotspots don't work, and the far, far remote. So we've got to think differently. How do we reach those students? So that's what we're doing. All of our principals have a spreadsheet. They have each student and the contacts made so that we can find each student, make sure they're invited, they understand how to log on, or they're checking their email to get their assignments. And a lot of kids are participating. Our participation rate with students engaging and learning goes anywhere from 65% to 95%. And it's getting more, it increases each week. So that tells me that social workers, principals, teachers, and counselors are reaching students and helping families also understand if it's the device that's a problem, we'll find a way for you to continue your learning. So that's very exciting, and Jennifer will talk more about it. So we're looking at that March 13th, and that tells us who our seniors are. We have only 11% of our seniors that need that remediation, so that's a really good number to work with. So very, very pleased at the progress our seniors were making at the time point of March 13th. K2 will continue looking at and using a rubric that they've been graded on all year. And they're working hard on Seesaw, which is their platform, and learning packets. Schools are planning when new packets need to be made and when families are invited to pick them up, or when they can be carried out with the meals. Grades 3 through 11, it's school as usual, except it was very important to us that we didn't negatively impact a student. So we have said as a school district, we expect no zeros, no failing grades, that students have the opportunity to work toward mastery. The State Board of Education was very firm in their belief that it's not about the grading, it's about the progress. It's about the feedback being provided to students on their work. If your assignment's not good enough, take it back and rework. What else can we do? And then let's turn it in again. So the beauty of that is we're looking at standards-based and working towards mastery. We fully expect more guidance, especially if we are not back in school after May 18th, or if we are back in school, what does the end of year summative markings look like? So a lot more information to come, but I think we're moving in the right direction. Federal requirements for reporting, we know that those waivers are in place, so that's helpful to know. The General Assembly must approve to waive the student performance grades, the end of grade, the end of course testing, the North Carolina final exams. We fully expect this General Assembly to do so. They just not have had the opportunity yet. But DPI is not shipping any testing materials to us, so that's a good sign that those tests will be waived. Again, we're just trying to keep instruction moving and make sure that kids are learning and that they have the opportunity to learn and that it's enjoyable. I think that the connections, teachers are using creativity to reach, and they're having a little bit of fun too, and that's very, very important right now. I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Ms. Swanger, would it be appropriate here to ask about teacher assistants, or is that going to come at a different presentation?
Ms. Reed's going to talk about what teacher assistants are doing.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair, I would like to back up to the information shared about Young's bus lines. I think that's wonderful news. And I think that in some way we need to either acknowledge it now or at some point, once this is behind us, recognize all of the partners that we've had who have cooperated with us and really did the right thing and served our students that way.
Okay,
We will make sure that happens. That's important to us as well, so.
thank you. And you would convey that the board?
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, I guess it's Ms. Reed's
Ms. Reed.
time.
Good afternoon, Dr. Baldwin, Madam Chair, and members of the board. It's my pleasure to give you an update on our virtual learning. We are currently in, or probably have just finished, the 12th day of virtual learning in Buncombe County Schools, and it is going strong. Our principals are reporting high levels of student engagement across the board. Schools are offering a variety of ways for students to access learning each day. From video conferencing, use of learning management systems such as Google Classroom and Seesaw, as well as offline activities that promote independent learning, interaction with family members, and very interesting ways to explore the world around them. It is important to note that virtual instruction is not only focused on academics. Administrators, teachers, counselors, and social workers are being intentional to provide activities that both survey and address the social and emotional needs of our learners during this time of crisis. I couldn't be more proud of the very innovative and extremely caring work that our school-based staff are doing each day. At this time, I'd also like to update you specifically on our professional development offerings for our hourly paid staff. I would like to highlight the wide array of those offerings while these staff can work remotely. In collaboration with our instructional coaches, our curriculum specialists, and all of our central office directors, I'm proud to say that we've compiled well over 100 course offerings in multiple categories from which our hourly staff can choose to participate. These courses range in topics from the science of reading to social emotional learning, supporting the needs of English language learners, stress management, which we all could use a little bit of right now, as well as safe schools. I'm excited to report that to date, I just checked about an hour ago, 2,500 plus courses have been completed by our hourly paid staff since the option was introduced on March 23rd. Any questions?
How long, if an hourly worker, the highest hourly worker, whatever that is, are there enough options there, and how long would they last for them before they're going to run out of options?
We feel strongly that there are enough options to carry us through May 15th, and the options out there are pretty endless right now. In fact, we're adding courses every day. Where we are focusing our energy right now are the positions such as custodian and bus driver that it can be a little bit more challenging to find courses for, but Clark Wyatt has worked really hard on that, and so has David Roney, so we feel pretty confident we can take them several more weeks.
And our teacher assistants, the classroom teacher assistants, kindergarten, first, second, what are they in any way helping their teachers on a daily basis, A, and B, if they are but are not getting to where they normally would be hour-wise, has any thought been given to them being involved and attached to more than one teacher. So example, our third grade, our fourth grade teachers don't have teacher assistants in their classrooms. But it would seem to me there might be an opportunity to enhance what those teachers are doing and assist them with teacher assistants being and working with more than one teacher. And maybe we're already doing that, and if you could just touch on that.
Absolutely. I
That'd be
think
great.
the options are pretty endless. Our administrators have been very open to thinking outside the box, linking our current teacher assistants with their own teachers, as you mentioned, in kindergarten and first, as well as second, third grade, and Title I assistants supporting various teachers. They have work that they can do from home to create games and materials and things like that. So I've been actually very impressed with what our principals are putting together to keep our hourly staff paid for the full working hours.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I am truly impressed with what what we've done as a system, and what Jennifer just kind of pulled out of her hat almost immediately when this happened, and put it into play, successfully put it into play. I have learned that there's some professional development that this board chair could benefit from, but she's not going to play yet. She's going to let you get all this other stuff done, and then she may sign up for a PD or two.
I'll be happy to link you up with something.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I have one more question, if I may, that it may not, this may not be the appropriate place, and Dr. Baldwin and I were with the Irwin District Advisory Board meeting earlier today on Zoom, and one of the things that was discussed that's concerning to me, and maybe it's coming later, is we've got a lot of teachers, my daughter being one, who are now at home trying to do their jobs with their own children at home. One, that's not normal. I've talked to a handful of teachers in the Irwin District, one particular elementary teacher who was almost in tears 2 weeks ago because they haven't had that connection with their kids. And my question is, are we doing some things, and what can we do, and what maybe could this board support in terms of how we take care of our people, not just our kids, but our people? I mean, we're the second largest employer in Buncombe County, I think, still. Large entities are going to be defined by this, and their brand is going to be impacted by how they take care of their people, whether it's a public entity like this or private. And I'm just curious, are there some things going on? Are some things coming? And is this the wrong place to ask this question, Ms. Swanger, because it's coming later?
I think it's a great question, and I'd like to address it, at least in part. Our administrators take the social emotional well-being of their staff very seriously. One thing that they are doing so well is scheduling regular times to meet with them, mainly in their small groups. Speaking from elementary, they work very closely in their grade level PLCs, and they're continuing those on a weekly basis, and administrators are touching base with them. I also know that there are red flags, as you mentioned, that maybe you've seen some of this week, and we encourage our administrators to touch out on a one-on-one basis with our staff. There are options out there for our staff to have support that they need. And I also think that Kim Fisher will be talking in a little bit more about some options for leave that may actually address the rest of your question.
If I can add to that, as we've had these small group principal meetings, we've started with, talk to us about your staff. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you doing? A lot of spirit weeks kind of things, a lot of personal videos. One principal told the group this morning that she's writing a handwritten note and mailing it to each of her teachers. So they're sharing those ideas because they are worried, because our teachers are dealing with the same things that many of our families are. And this is a time of trauma. So we really do, we're so thankful that probably their happiest place is talking to their children and teaching their children, but that's very different than what they're accustomed to. So we're being very sensitive, and we're making sure our principals are being sensitive.
Well, I just hope that we continue to, with that, and to think outside the box, because I think Dr. Baldwin used the term, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
It is, it's a long time until May 15th.
And we're going to cross some things, and some things are going to be put at our feet that we've not experienced before, in addition to what we've already had put at our feet that we haven't experienced before. And I worry about the employees, and not just our teachers,
I
but our
agree.
bus drivers and our cafeteria workers and teacher assistants and everybody. And, I don't know if we've got enough folks to do it, and I'm not certainly trained in those areas, but I would be happy if there's something that you think that I, as a board member, could do to help today, tomorrow, next week, to offer that to anybody and to any school, et cetera.
And using our school counselors as resources as well. So it's a long haul till May, we know. It's important to keep everyone taken care of.
All right, Ms. Fisher?
Madam Chair, have I got time just to jump in quickly?
Of course.
I think Pat's making a very good point, and it's the personal aspect of dealing with this unprecedented crisis. And I think that's the quality that, when I say family in Buncombe County Schools, I truly mean that. But this, of all times, we have got to be looking out for each other, and we've got to be looking in the mirror to take care of ourselves. And I really would appreciate, because again, guys, we are making our best efforts, but we are facing challenges that we have never faced before. And as we get into the operation piece as administrators at the district level, we can lose sight of the personal aspect. I'm a great example. I'm sitting here at home because I'm used to telling everybody else to go home and stay home if you have a temperature. Well, I had one 48 hours ago. The personal touch came from my personal family of nurses that told me myself is going to stay locked in the room until they let me out. But we've got to do that for each other, and it's not necessarily in our nature because we are driven to make sure the operation continues on. And I would also recognize, Mr. Bryan, exactly what you said that you've done, which is you've reached out and you've contacted a number of teachers in the Irwin district, a number of staff, and you've talked to them. And I would encourage each of our board members to reach into your districts and do exactly that, because that connection means more than, I promise you, it means more with that type of touch coming from you as board members than it does me sending a blanket email out or doing a video, which I did to the entire staff. But we need help with that. If you've got suggestions, creative thoughts about how we can take care of each other better, please let us know, because again, this is an area we have just not had experience in. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Any other comments from board members? Moving right along.
I would like to.
Oops.
I would like to speak up if I could, Madam Chair. And just the other side of that I'm also seeing on social media and elsewhere is the extent to which our teachers do feel appreciated in a way that our teachers and other staff, not just teachers, in a way that they haven't over the past many years. With this crisis, I think it seems sad that it took this crisis for our community to really step up and appreciate what our school employees do. And I really feel like that is coming across. And at the same time, of course, we're seeing layoffs across the county and the wider region. And so the fact that our employees and directors, Jennifer Reed and others, have been so creative in finding ways that we can keep our employees gainfully engaged with us. I just want to say kudos to all of you, because it is such a crazy hard time and there is so much stress and anxiety, but at least we are keeping people employed, and many other sectors of our community are not able to do that. And so I feel grateful, and I think that our teachers and other employees also are feeling some gratitude about that. So thank you to all of you.
Indeed. Okay, Kim, we're going to try and see if you'll go this time.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to update you on some new leaves, emergency leaves that just became available. This is both federal and state emergency leaves that were passed within the last 2 weeks and effective yesterday. So this is in very real time with guidance coming daily at us. We have held meetings all week. We started with the principals and directors on Monday of this week, and then we started talking to secretaries. We've held daily virtual meetings with our secretaries to give them time to understand all of the new leaves that have come out there that's available for our employees with question and answer sessions. Our last meeting was this morning, and we had very few questions, so everyone's starting to get more and more comfortable with this information. In front of you, you will see the information that was sent out to our employees yesterday. It was a communication. It was sent out to all BCS employees, along with a easy-to-read flow chart about what their current work options are and what their current leave options are. And I just want to state again for all of you to know that with these new leave options, along with our virtual work from home assignments, all of our employees have remained in a paid status, much to the point about the unemployment. Our employees have remained in a paid status. So we have, I'm not going to go into great detail unless you want that, but we have leave that became available April 1st from the state. It's 168 hours. So if an employee is unable to perform work assignments from home, and we have work assignments for home for all categories of our employees, should they be at risk and need to not be working in a on-site setting, they can work from home. So that is available April 1st. We have identified, obviously, our essential mandatory employees that are part of our feeding programs and have communicated to those, and any needs that have already been established or any that arise because maybe they become sick or have symptoms, much like Dr. Baldwin's symptom of running a fever, well, then there will be leaves available for these employees, emergency leave. So we're starting with the state. It's April 1st through April 30th. There's federal leave that will begin May 1st after we exhaust the state leave. That will keep people in paid status should they have the inability to work, perform duties, even in a virtual capacity due to any COVID-19 related issue. Any questions for me? That was
Moving right along. Who's next? That's it? All right. We'll move on. Our agenda, I want to thank you for those updates and that just acknowledges again the work that's being done. And, coming to these meetings from home and being virtual, not that I'm real good at it, but, there's a tension that comes there because you want to be there and you want to participate and you want to know, and yet there's so much swirling around, it is difficult to get. So I really appreciate that, and from a personal perspective, it drives home some of the tension and all that's going on in our homes. Real glad I don't have a young child. Okay. Moving to the action agenda, the first item on the agenda is the 2019-2020 Budget Amendment Number 5. Are there questions for Ms. Frisbee? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
so moved.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Amy? Thank you. All right, thank you. The next item on the action agenda is North Buncombe Middle School locker room renovations project, approval of the change order. Are there questions for Mr. Fierle?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
All right, will you wait till Mr. Fierle comes in the room, please?
I sure will.
I believe he's moving quickly. He has arrived. All right, Cindy.
Okay, so Mr. Fierle, can you just explain to us how it's legal for this to be a change order rather than having to rebid and start it as a new project?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
Cindy, can you repeat
Yeah,
it?
can you hear me or is there feedback?
A little bit. Talk slowly.
Speak softly. Talk slowly, Cindy.
I will type my question into the chat box. Barry, can you read that question?
Barry's not in the room.
I think he got the question.
I think he got it.
I think Donna told him.
I think Donna might be our interpreter right this minute, and if Mr. Fierle would like to respond to what Donna Bates told him, that would be good. How about that? Tim?
The question is, why is this a change order as opposed to new construction? Is that accurate?
Yes.
Correct.
As opposed to a new project that would need to be bid.
Yeah, normally we would bid this project as a separate project, but the principal is very concerned that it couldn't be completed before the start of school and would be extremely disruptive to school if it wasn't completed in time. And I think that's accurate. If we go through the bid process, especially in this environment, it may be 2 months before we have a contractor on board. We would bring it to you to approve. By the time we went through the contractual process, there really is no chance that this could be done by the start of school. So Hickory Construction was the low bidder on the previous project that we did, and I asked them if they would be willing to look at this as a potential change order. They did so. They've shared their bids to their subcontractors, and in fact, the project, the proposed change order is right in where we expected the cost of the work to be, to cost. They do good work. I think it's up to you. If you want to go through the bid process, you can. But there's just no way this project could be done by the start of school. It would be done probably 1st of October.
I understand how it benefits us, but my question is I want to be reassured about the legality of not bidding it.
Ms. McMahon, yes, under our statutes, construction or repair work undertaken during the progress of a already existing construction or repair project is an exception to the bid statute, and that's in 143, 129. So I feel comfortable with it moving along since it is a related project and work around the same area and related to the athletic facilities at North Buncombe High.
Thank you. That's what I needed to know.
All right, other questions from board members?
Mr. Fierle, the memo notes Article 39 and Article 4042 funds. Have these been to School Capital Fund Commission? Has this project been to School Capital Fund Commission and already been voted on in last year's 4042 presentation?
Yes, it has. It is part of a larger project. And what happened was, as we really dug into it and found existing conditions that were not code compliant, such as the corridors not being rated, the estimated cost of the project went up, which exceeded what was authorized by the School Capital Fund Commission. So we went back to capital outlay with that estimate to supplement the project so that we could complete it for ADA and code compliance.
And was that specific project in 4042, or is it just coming out of the contingency fund there?
No, this was a specifically funded supplement to this.
Without having the book in front of me, it's hard to know.
Yeah, it
Thank
was
you.
specifically funded to do the locker rooms.
Thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Good. The next item on the agenda is the contract for cellular phone service. Are there questions for Mr. Pace? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks,
Aye.
girls, I appreciate that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the appointment to the AB Tech Community College Board of Trustees. And we have had a process in place for several years now where we take applications for this position. In this cycle, we have had an application from Judy Lewis, and she is the only person that completed this application. And so you have had time to read this application in your packet. Are there questions from the board? Then I would accept a motion to approve the nomination of Judy Lewis to serve on the AB Tech Board of Trustees.
So moved.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, this nomination, as we have approved it, will now be sent to the Asheville City Board and for their consideration. And their meeting is the first week of May. And so if they concur with us, then the name of Judy S. Lewis will be presented to the AB Tech committee, and she will be sworn in the 1st of July? Okay, the people at AB Tech will vote on her June 1st, and then she will be, if successful in this cycle, will be sworn in July 1st as our representative on the AB Tech Board of Trustees.
Just one correction, Madam Chair. AB Tech does not have to approve her, just Asheville City.
Excuse me.
It's okay. Just want to make sure for everybody's reference.
Yes, thank you. All right, I also want to take a minute to acknowledge the fact that we have in our midst a very special person, and the North Carolina School Boards Association has named Buncombe County School Board member Max Queen as an at-large member of the North Carolina School Boards Association Legislative Committee. And these individuals will do the work that leads the adoption of the association's legislative agenda. Go forth and do good work, Max Queen. And so we want to thank him for his willingness to serve and represent Buncombe County Schools.
Thank you,
want-
Madam Chair.
Sure. You want to comment on anything else?
I will do my best.
Make good decisions, Mr. Queen.
Go do good work.
All right, that completes the action agenda. The consent agenda for this April month is the minutes for the March 2nd, 2020 special called meeting and work session, the March 5th, 2020 regular meeting open session, and the personnel report. Could I get a motion to approve these consent agenda items?
So moved.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
Thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
I really appreciate all of you making the concession to meet earlier, and as we learn to be flexible, you know, people in the education field talk very favorably about flexibility. So our next regular meeting is scheduled for May the 7th, and hopefully all the coronavirus will be gone. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Be well. Be well. Thank you.